In our first story tonight, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has cut the policy rate by some significant margin. This is the first time in several years the policy rate has dropped that low. The committee reduced its key lending rate by some 100% basis points to 20% from 21%. Addressing the media, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, attributed the reduction to what he describes as favorable economic outlook for the rest of the year.
As the central bank and the lender of last resort to the financial system, if a bank has liquidity challenges, they are allowed to borrow from the central bank, because that's one of the functions that a central bank is supposed to play. And so long as the bank has the securities to back that borrowing as collateral, we do extend that liquidity support to the bank. I think that the situation has improved significantly from the beginning of the year, where banks were in very serious need of liquidity. At least over the last 2 months, we have not seen that type of pressure coming in. So there are improvements in that as well. Now let me move on to Uche on fragility of the banking system improving. I think the two issues are related. The fact that non-performing loans have marginally improved, I think that improves the issue of resilience of the banking sector. At the same time, remember that we had requested quite a number of banks to put into place recapitalization plans as far back as April.
Well, let's get some reaction to this. Economic policy analyst at the University of Ghana, Abdallah Aziz Mega, has advised that even though the reduction in the policy rate to 20% is welcoming news, a further reduction might cause investors to look elsewhere with their funds. He said it is good to maintain a good business environment, but interests of foreign investors must also be considered. My colleague Ebenezer Sabte spoke with him earlier in the day after the announcement of the new policy rate by the MPC.
Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has reduced the policy rate by 100% basic points. We are blessed to have with us Abdallah Aziz Maiga with the Economics Department of the University of Ghana to give us some insights about this and what this means to businesses. Is it just reduction, or it has actually impact or effect on businesses?
The reduction, I think, is in the right direction. Though we expected that the policy rate should have been maintained, looking at our economic challenges we have in this country, because when it's reduced drastically, there is a likelihood that other investors would like to move from the country and look elsewhere where there is high interest-bearing investment. So it's not that bad, and then it's a good thing that the government or the policy rate implementers, which is the Bank of Ghana or the Monetary Policy Committee, realize that it's good. They just reduce about 100 basis points, and then it's the best for the economy.
But one may ask that why should investors, move away from the country when lending rate is being reduced or policy rate is being reduced? Because they are coming to do business and they will need some funds or some credit from banks. So it should rather be of advantage to them. Why would they have to move? Because the rate is coming down drastically.
Yeah, this is the case. We have two people in question here. Those who would like to come and borrow. And because if interest rate is reduced, it's very good or favorable for businesses to get access to credit, because they would like to go and get loans which do not bear higher interest. But the other side is investors who also are investing in bonds which yield higher returns, will also like to take their monies from here and look elsewhere where they think there is a better interest rate. So that is why you see some of them will move out. But I think what the government has done so far is good, trying to maintain, it's almost like maintaining the policy rate. So it's a two-thing. One-sided, businesses will be very happy to go in for a lower interest rate and get credit so as they can expand their businesses. But the other side of the whole thing is also some investors also look, when I'm coming in here, the policy rate, assuming I'm buying a T-bill, so which means if I can get the same amount of money somewhere else, which will be going for probably, let's assume, 28%, why should I maintain my money here? Once I can easily move my money and go and make that higher interest somewhere.
All right, so let's still stick with the numbers. The rate at which the country's debt stock has been increasing has slowed. That's the conclusion one may draw after going through the latest Bank of Ghana data covering the debt numbers. The debt stock ending September this year reached 139 billion cedis. George Rafi has got the details.
The data showed that the debt stock has gone up by some 3 million Ghana cedis from June this year to 138.9 billion Ghana cedis ending September 2017. For some analysts, this is a sharp departure from the previous months where the debt numbers were even going up by as much as 3 billion Ghana cedis in 4 months. Sources are attributing it to government debt reprofiling and some marginal stability of the Ghana cedi during that period, which accounted for the slowdown in the rates of increase. The data also puts the country's debt-GDP ratio at 68.6%, still within government's end-of-year target of 70%. However, when you look at the country's debt position from September last year to September this year, then it has gone up by 26 billion Ghana cedis. This might not necessarily be as a result of fresh borrowings by this administration, as other factors may have contributed to this increase. However, some are still worried about the country's exposure to dollar loans, especially when government is projecting to spend 15 billion Ghana cedis as interest payments on loans for next year. If the debt is shared among the country's population size of about 28 million, then everyone should be owing almost 5,000 Ghana cedis. The Bank of Ghana data also showed that the country is getting more from exports as earnings reached $10.2 billion in September. On the banking sector, the data showed some mixed results, raising more questions about the soundness of the sector, with loans that banks fear might go bad still rising.
Let's turn to the aviation sector, and domestic carrier Starboard could struggle to regain public confidence in the operations. Those are concerns of some industry players that Joy Business has been engaging. There have been, this has been influenced rather by the weekend's incident which left 5 passengers with minor injuries. This was after the aircraft skidded off the runway at the Kotka International Airport as it attempted to take off. For many, this might not be good for the airline, as this is the 3rd major challenge that has hit the airline in 3 years. My colleague Sheila Tamaklo was at the airport earlier in the day and has come through with this report.
So many things are circulating. What exactly happened?
The aircraft was lined up for takeoff, and as soon as it was cleared for takeoff, the pilot increased the power to takeoff setting, and then the aircraft started veering off the runway. The aircraft never took off, but maybe some passengers or some eyewitnesses are giving the account that it went into the air, simply because when it veered off the runway, the grassy part of the airport is quite bumpy, and that might have counted for the ups and downs, but it actually didn't go in the air.
The suspension of activities came from the part of the airline themselves, but from the regulatory aspect, from the regulators, what actions are you going to take against this particular airline?
We are still investigating, and fortunately for us, Starboard has only one aircraft in operation, and that crashed yesterday, was involved in the accident yesterday. So automatically they wouldn't be able to operate. But we're investigating further. If we find out the real cause and it is due to the type of aircraft, then we would have to ground that particular type of aircraft till that problem is rectified.
Behind me is the Starbow Kumasi-bound aircraft that was reported to have skidded off the tarmac over the weekend. So the aircraft is currently resting in the bushes where it finally settled after having skid off the tarmac. Now, according to reports, all 65 passengers, however, managed to disembark safely, even though 5 of them were injured but have been treated. But then the concern here has become the fact that as a nation, currently we have just 2 airlines operating all the local routes that we have internally here. Now, with Starbow suspending its operations, the question has become, how would the only airline that is left, which is Africa World Air, cope with the pressure of passengers? The Director General, Simon Alute, has been sharing some insights on how this is going to work out. According to him, very soon there will be a number of airlines that will be coming on board to solve the problem.
Already, the other local operator is a bit overstretched. They are doing flights to all the airports, going to Lagos, Abuja, and early next month they are starting flights to Monrovia. So they might not be able to increase their frequency of flights to mop up the extra passengers Starbow will have picked. So luckily, there are others, the other operators, Ghana registered carriers. One recently had its air operator certificate and expressed interest to also commence domestic air services. That's DAC Airlines. The others also going through certification, and once they also come on board, there will be additional capacity to cope with the increasing domestic air travel. Starbow itself has indicated suspension of their operations for a while whilst they reorganized and get additional aircraft to support their operations. Yeah, the main cover letter says 10 a.m. and that's all, but it doesn't give the breakdown.
An unfortunate incident there over the weekend. Well, over the weekend as well, President Akufo-Addo was at the maiden Chamber Business Awards, where he re-emphasized his government's commitment to ease the cost of doing business in the country. According to him, government is rolling out several initiatives that should ultimately create the enabling environment for businesses to achieve this and its associated economic benefits. Here's more from the Chamber Business Awards organized by the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
This is the kind of leadership and collaboration that is required collectively to build Ghana beyond aid. And I encourage business people to take advantage of these opportunities that have been created by government. I recall that
the maiden edition of Chamber Business Awards attracted hundreds of private sector businesses, some of whom were duly recognized for their hard work and efforts at enhancing economic growth. Trade Minister Alan Chemanting, CEO of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, UFI Grant, and several captains of industry were also present to grace the occasion. In an address, President of the Chamber, Nana Appiah Ejei Dankawoso I, called for support as the Chamber organizes industries along the value chains towards industrialization.
We expect government to soon actively and productively engage the private sector, including financial players, to address the challenge of high interest rates. We are also expecting that flagship policies and programs, including the One District, One Factory and the stimulus package, will be effectively implemented to achieve their overall objective. In conclusion, Mr. President, the Chamber, with over 250 years of providing business support services, has built a strong reputation and goodwill with state and non-state actors, both local and international, and it is this invaluable business endorsement we want to share with our award winners.
The Minister of Trade and Industry, Alan Chemanting, also delivered an address. President Akufo-Addo re-emphasized his government's commitment to easing the cost of doing business in the country. He said government is rolling out several initiatives to ultimately create the enabling environment for businesses.
This is the kind of leadership and collaboration that is required collectively to build Ghana beyond aid. And I encourage business people to take advantage of these opportunities that have been created by government. I recall that at the National Policy Summit of the Ministry of Trade and Industry in August 2017, the President of the Chamber, in his remarks on behalf of the private sector, indicated the readiness of businesses to take advantage of government's policies and programs, and underscored the importance of organizing our industries along industrial value chains to identify the linkages and aggregators and ensure that production of goods or products meet the needs of the market. This will result in massive employment, production of high-quality goods, and efficiency in the system.
Several industry actors received awards for their dedicated services. Chief Executive Officer of Traffic Catering Services, Bella Ahu, emerged the Chamber Businesswoman of the Year, while Issa Wudragu of BoG Limited emerged the Chamber Businessman of the Year. He later shared some thoughts with Joy Business.
I'm so happy because it also shows an evidence of what we are doing on the ground, and it's going to inspire me more and my colleagues and also the young generation, especially in the agriculture sector, to showcase that we can do more. And I invite the whole nation and elsewhere people to come and see what I'm doing on the ground so that we know that we have it and we can do more.
The Chamber of Commerce promises to make the annual event Ghana's most sought-after business awards on the corporate calendar.
Well, we are turning to one of our top stories tonight. Agricultural Market Information Service provider Isoko is predicting an increase in food prices following the closure of the Bupe and Yape bridges in the northern region. Already, some onion sellers at the Agbogboshi market here in Accra are complaining the closure of the bridges is already causing an increase in the cost of onions on the market. Vice Chairman of the Greater Accra Onion Sellers Association, Salisu Mashood, says the onion truck drivers are spending more fuel, which inadvertently has increased the price of the commodity. Some of the drivers are also complaining about alternative routes, which they say are very bad. JoyNews' Maxwell Agbagba has more.
The closure of the Bupe and Yape bridges has already taken a toll on the transportation of food items such as onions and yams here at this market. We are told that the price of a bag of onion has actually shot up from 200 Ghana cedis to 220 Ghana cedis.
For a week ago, onion hasn't been coming. There isn't much supply of onion. So due to that, price has increased. It has gone up a little bit. I don't know whether it's because of the dam that was broken. So there hasn't been much. Yeah, so there hasn't been much cars coming, onion cars coming. So the price has increased. It has gone up for a while. And previously we sell it 200 Ghana cedi for a bag of onion.
Okay.
Yeah, for a bag. But for now it has gone up more than that.
Like how much are you selling?
Now it is 220.
Well, some of the people I've been interacting with here at the onion market tell me that they are sometimes made to pay bribes before they are made to cross the bridge which has been closed down. I'm here to meet the Vice Chairman of the Greater Accra Onion Sellers Association, Salisu Mashood, to find out from him whether these allegations have come to his attention.
One thing is, when they've closed Yape Road, everybody knows that they closed Yape. But nobody should stand there, collect bribe for the drivers to enter those roads. But if the drivers will pay bribe, they will enter inside. If they enter inside, then they will arrest the driver again. How do you manage?
They open the bridge for them?
Yes, they open the bridge for them. Instead of the bridge has been closed. The Yape road, not the Bupe. The Bupe one has damage already. But the Yape one, they can pass through the Yape, they will get some route. They pay 1 million, that's 100 Ghana cedis, for them to pass on the bridge. But if they pass on the bridge, they will be arrested again. How do you manage to pass the bridge? So those people are those people standing there collecting the bribe, who told them to stand there? Who told them to stand there? So it creates a lot of trouble over there right now as we are standing here. The closure of the Bupe bridge has affected the business because due to this closure of the bridge, the drivers or the car owners association have increased their price, the lorry fare price. So instead of 4,000 CFA, they made it 5,000 CFA. If you don't want, then you won't get car. Here too, the price of the goods is down. So if you pay this much money to come here, if you sell, you won't get anything.
Some of the drivers here are complaining bitterly that they've been compelled to use different routes to get to their destination.
And that was Maxwell Agbegbe's report. Dire situation there, and of course hundreds remain stranded. We keep our eyes on that story for you. But for now, we want to turn to the stock market. Joining me in the studio is Bertha Tubiga, who has got all the numbers, of course. But I want to begin with the MPC's announcement of a new policy rate at 20%. And then we had the analyst saying that, well, it's good, but if it goes down further, we are going to see more investors turn elsewhere, and you don't exactly agree.
Well, thank you very much. Let me say that it's very good that the monetary policy rate has actually been reduced to 20%. And this should imply that the banks will also reduce their lending rate to customers. And you know, currently the banks are suffering from high NPLs, that's the non-performing loans, are actually going up. And if rates on loans that are given out to customers actually come down, and this also differs from one bank to the other. So if it should come down, it means that it has the possibility or the tendency to reduce the NPLs, that's the non-performing loans. People can be able to pay back, considering the fact that maybe the rates at which they are being given the loans is lower than what was given previously. But talking about the fact that foreign investors will probably move to other countries to invest with, that I probably I don't agree totally, because in every economy we have the debt and then we have the equity market. If the debt market, which happens to be the money market instruments, are not doing very well, you just have to shift or rebalance your portfolio. In building every portfolio, there are three key elements that you need to consider: the asset allocation, the rebalancing, and then you also look at diversification. So if one sector or one particular part is not doing very well, then you need to rebalance or diversify into other sectors. Now, money market rates have been very stable or on the low side in the country, meaning that people are focusing more on the equity market now. As we can see, this year has been a very good year for the equity market with very impressive returns if you look at some of the equities and even the average returns on the stock market. So investors should not go out entirely. And let me say, with my
I mean, value for money, they say.
Yes, but even with that, with my interaction with clients and other investment advisors, you realize that those that are even in the diaspora outside Ghana that want to invest, sometimes if you even give them the rate, they tell you that they are high. And you know, we are not only looking at the Bank of Ghana Treasury bill rates, but we're looking at other investment houses in Ghana. We have a lot of them, secured ones like Gold Coast, where you can actually save with. And sometimes you give out the rates which are secured within the economy, but those in the diaspora will actually think that the rates are extremely high considering the rates that they are having in the countries that they are in. So I think that it is very good that they have brought it down, but we can have, investors can actually look at diversification or reallocation of their assets.
If I have money today, where should I invest? How are the stocks faring?
Well, to me, I would definitely say go into the equity market. Why? As of today, the equity market, the average returns on the stock market is about 50.63%. And this is very impressive as compared to last year where we're recording negative returns. And one thing is, this particular government is more, they look more into the long term than the short term. And in trying to maintain fiscal discipline and ensure that our indicators are very stable. That is what they're actually doing to make business within the economy very stable and very lively. So I think that if you have money right now, I would advise you to go into the equity market.
So quickly, how are the stocks faring?
Well, today we had five equities losing on their previous share prices, with only 2 equities gaining. Societe Generale added 5 pesos to close at 75 pesos per share, and then SPL went up by a peso to close at 3 pesos per share. ETI lost a peso. Mark Mega African Capital lost a peso. It's been very, very down on the market this year, but lost a peso. Standard Chartered Bank lost 48 pesos. SIC went down by a peso as well, and we had the major indices come down marginally, and we saw the composite index, as I earlier mentioned, 50.63, and the financial stock index 45.51%.
And of course, the city, no good news still.
Yes, you know, as Friday, the city does close of Friday. Usually, Bank of Ghana, the rates come a day after. For instance, today's rates we'll see it tomorrow morning. So as of Friday, the city lost to all the major trading partners on the interbank market. And if you look at the daily changes, it lost 0.26% to the dollar, and then 1.56% to the euro, and then the pound, respectively. And if you look at the Gold Coast City Index, which measures the holistic performance of the city against these major trading partners, it closed at 10.26%.
All right, thank you very much, Bertha, to begin with the latest from the stock market. And of course, that'll be it for the Business Live tonight. My name is Daryl Kwa. We are back same time tomorrow with some more business news.